Hello, everyone, and this is just a quick astrology update because we are truly living unprecedented times and a lot is going on. And this is where we truly cannot trust anything that comes from the exterior. Of course, depending on our lifestyle and, of course, inner configuration and education and a lot of things. Some of us can't even trust what comes from the inside. However, that only goes for the mind because the heart or the gut feeling, South Node in the sign of Virgo. Well, what does that mean? South Node is elimination, and I just have to say that as soon as the South Node entered Virgo, so somewhere December, 20 something December, me myself included, and many people I know, IBS like really kicked up, and it doesn't have any real logical reason. So that can also be part of the picture this week. So be careful if you're in a delicate situation, but it's not even funny. It is what it is. And the South Node is the energy, as I said, of elimination. So, in a positive sense, of course, we are definitely going to be eliminating old ways of not just thinking, but rather total mind processes. Maybe things that made sense to us perfectly all of our waking lives in a totally rational, logical, educative sense. And now all of a sudden they're alien to us. Maybe, or even overnight, we go to bed being our old mental selves, and we wake up where my thinking, my way of analyzing everything in life, from the smallest Virgo to the larger, is so different. And this is what definitely, if this happens, do not panic, because this is the biggest blessing one can truly receive. But besides this, there is so much happening that does change our mind, our way of thinking. On one hand, at the very beginning of the week, Venus and Mercury both retrograde, and the Sun are at the beginning degrees of Virgo. The Sun, of course, not retrograde, just Mercury and Venus. But the Sun does hold the sextile with Pluto. That's power. And what that means is, well, Aries. Aries is the first breath, and in a very, how should I say, modern social, modern times context, it is not the wisest of energies because it only listens to its inner fire. Sometimes its nerves, neurons fire, its synapses firing up. And, career, job, rules and regulations, social coexistence. The Aries energy is not the gentle and not usually perceived in a very favorable manner because the battering ram. If the Aries energy wants to go somewhere, well, it will give it a best try and it won't stop until it passes out. And this is symbolic, but also in a way true. However, usually this is not the good idea. Now, if it comes to that, well, the Aries within us knows stuff, and that's where the power lies. Like, let me give you some examples. Contracts. Sometimes negotiation is where you really need to dish up everything. As in, a concrete example, you're not going to the interview in a classic way that HR culture taught you. You're going to the interview first questioning the company's whatever you want. Morality, history, why are people leaving? But this is where you are the boss, really. And they need to answer first, and then comes your turn. And you might be a totally atypical person and don't even plan this. Only when you sit in the chair will you be activated in such a sense. And regardless of the outcome, you will feel that you've done the right thing and you've made the right choice. But this goes a bit further than that because this is still a period of false new beginnings. This is just analysis. The Aries type of analysis. Am I wise to invest my energy here? Or should I rather find another path or go back to the Mercury and Venus retrograde? It's very, very typical. And this is also specific to the battering ram, the ram, because it will not really choose an opponent which is 10 times its size. So it will probably not attack an elephant or something that it really knows it has absolutely no chance against. That's also part of the Aries wisdom. Courage, well, it has to have a certain instinctual common sense as well. Okay, in very extraordinary situations, this might change, but anyway, let's move forward. Venus is gonna meet, and Mercury as well, Neptune, an erratic Neptune, just before a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. So that's why Aries is very activated. It is gonna take place at 9 degrees of Aries, but I do have a specially dedicated video for that. Check it out if you're interested. But I know you're not because everyone just emails me what this means for me personally, what's gonna happen. So this is where I sometimes feel like my public work has absolutely no effect because I get the emails anyway. Doesn't matter what I put out publicly. It is the email that is gonna answer the question. So I'm trying. So it's big because Venus is retrograde. Venus is the lower octave of Neptune. And this in Pisces, in erratic Pisces is a very, very special degree, just like 0 of Aries. But you see where 0 of Aries and 29 of Pisces are the same. You know, the infinity symbol, the 8. There is that part where there's the loop. Everything is conjoined in the middle. That's this degree because it's both Aries, both Pisces. It's just mathematics that separates them. So that means in between life and death, in any way, shape, and form. A baby which isn't born yet, it's alive, but it's not in a classical sense, so it cannot be considered an entity in itself in a biological sense where it's independent. But at the same time, someone who is going but not gone yet, the same thing as the baby, as in the baby in the mother's womb. In between our emotions, our values, our love. And when I say love, this is the type of Venus in the sign of Pisces because it retrograded back. It's not just a person. I love X, Y, Z. I love this, the food. This is our own Venus is gonna be under our own judgment, our own trial. We are the judges of our own Venus. Pisces is the past, and what it wants to do is not to repeat it, because Venus will go direct back into Aries, and that's where she has to know something. She has to know her truth, and she has to know her lie as well, not to repeat it. So this is where our own hearts, what compassion, what love, what friendship, what value, what even money, resources, trauma response, our own sensitivity, our own victimhood means to us is going to be trialed and judged by us. A deeper part of us than we can ever possibly realize because this is the North Node. A North Node which is, having its arms widespread because Saturn is running to embrace it. So it's like the hog is incoming. And Saturn is the lord of earthly karma. In the sign of Pisces, it is when even earthly karma is not, in this instance, how should I say, animated by earthly rules. I don't want to get into this, but we see this playing on the world stage. 0 degrees of Aries is the world stage, so it's on fire right now. They're disrespecting hundreds-year-old treaties. Let me give you a concrete example. Just like that, overnight, the Ottawa Treaty is nullified. I don't feel like respecting it anymore. And this will come in chains and more and more, so nothing is going to be respected. There is not going to be an old consensus. However, it's not bad news because Aries, that's why it's going to create a new one. The new is coming in the following weeks and months after the Aries solar eclipse with partial solar eclipse, which is on the 29th of March. But then towards the summer, both Neptune and Saturn are going to be in the sign of Aries. Neither of them love it there, but that's a good thing because we need to distill our own connection to spirit en masse, not individually. We're doing it right now. Later on, and especially in 2026, in masses. One of the potential expressions of this, that any religion which has certain fixed set of rules and dogmatism either is banned, Saturn, right? Or dissolved by Neptune. The lower expression of this energy is where people are just gonna abandon it. Because it's really, really time for a big, big, big change. Because perhaps certain ideologies and perhaps certain misinterpretation of spirit and what spirituality even means leads to a lot of horrors, which are purely optional. But yeah, this is absolutely nothing new. However, individually speaking, we're doing the same thing. How has our visage, belief, philosophy, ideology about love, worth, what a healthy psyche, Pisces, what a healthy soul, what a healthy past, even when I say past, how we like inner past, how we what's that word, stored the past memories within our soul matrix looks like. So this is also for a lot of people gonna mean true and intense psychoanalysis or regressions and really getting some answers from their own souls of why. And especially Venusian matters. Mercury follows because it needs to understand. It needs to reform itself. It needs to be healthy again. And healthy means natural. South Node in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of nature, absolutely. But it's also the sign of what goes against nature because it is the home of Mercury, the shadowy home of Mercury. And Mercury is the planet which, let's not say even planet, inner function that we use to, well, counter nature, change nature, pervert nature, rise above nature, etc., etc., etc. Let me just give you one example. Antibiotics. If Virgo is microbes, well, The antibiotic is also ruled by Virgo. Okay, maybe Pisces, but it's the axis, Pisces Virgo axis. So you get what I'm saying. So this is not an easy period, not an easy week, especially psycho-emotionally, because this is not as much about who I am, how my heart is. What does love mean for me? And moments of deep honesty. And we need to accept and embrace what is there, even if it doesn't match religion, for example, if it doesn't match modern philosophy, if it doesn't match your community, your family, your culture, who you thought you were in heart, so not anything else all your life, big changes in heart. Venus and the other element of the heart, Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is the higher mind. However, it's Leo Aquarius axis. So the heart is under the microscope as well. And of course, this will change everything in the coming months and weeks. Contracts, what we wish to support, where we wish to give our resources to, an inner or outer, money, love, attention, admiration, etc., etc. Now, usually when Venus meets the North Node in the sign of Pisces, that also means a big boom, a big boost, a flourishing, a tide, a geyser of art, of soul beauty in music, in anything artistic, poetry, mysticism, and all of that. You already got that, it's included. However, Saturn is closing up. So it doesn't mean the classical expression. It means that we're judging art and artists collectively through our collective unconscious. If we sense, not see, sense something that just bothers the gut instinct, the gut feeling, chances are we're not going to support it anymore. And this is also a period of big revelations, especially that Black Moon Lilith, not the true one, ingresses into the sign of Scorpio, the 0 degrees of Scorpio. That's where it's the truth. Scorpio is savage. The truth is, well, like vitriol, it really dissolves all illusion, all false hope, all sugarcoat. However, the very same goes for self-victimization. I'm so unlucky. My life was a hell. I was this and that and that and that and that. So it goes the opposite way as well, because this is the Piscean energy that really triggers it. And what does that mean? Well, we may wake up to the fact that, well, I wasn't all that much 100% victim of the situation, of the childhood, of the bullying, of very bad things. I was maybe 25% the promoter of it. Maybe a moment of stupid courage, moment of not listening to a very loving advice a parent, grandparent, teacher, the divine gave us, ended up, of course, in tears, in not so nice situations. Or this is also, well, if I believed in fairy tales, too good to be true, of course I didn't end up too well. And the specific of Scorpio is, well, if I generated a big desire, dream, goal, what I want to accomplish, for the sheer fact that XYZ sister, neighbor, brother, this person, that movie star, how well they're doing, how happy it makes them. They have everything that would work for me too. It is exactly those that are going to be slaughtered now. Because in a way, that's not your dream. That's not authentic. That's authentic maybe to an ego, because the ego is our educated self. That's education, basically. But there is the deep core of the being, Aries, right? The who we are in our genes. If it's not specific to them, to that, those dreams, those aspirations, those goals, those efforts, those sacrifices stop. And Scorpio, resources or anything that we share, intimacy even that we share with other people. This can also be a very, very, very painful and but liberating moment at the same time. Why do I do what I do? Is it because I feel so unworthy that I want to serve? And I think a lot of us have this and we don't want to admit it. What if we don't really like XYZ really on a soul level? What if we don't even respect their morality? What if we don't like their hearts, but we are addicted to them needing us? And I don't suggest intimately. That's one expression. This goes in anything. Absolutely anything. Even at your job. Why don't you refuse overtime? Why can't you refuse overtime? Why can't you stand up to your boss? Or the opposite. There are certain employees who are always the problem person and they always have complaints, and these patterns stop because one is confronted with itself. The victim is washed away. No. Everyone's as they are, you know? So this goes both for the sugar coat, but both for the tar coat, where we, smear ourselves in tar because it works in the sense that we get sympathy, we get benefits, we get free money, we get a lot. We don't have to bear our own cross. So you can imagine how this is going to change things around collectively and individually as well, because a lot of people who are served and serviced in a very effortless way, and they think that it's their right, are going to find themselves no longer benefiting from this. On the other hand, those who, in a way, drug themselves, I don't know how to say it any other word, with service, but feeling needed, useful, other people simply relying on, this also stops. So this is one of those weeks which gives us a glimpse of what living with our true selves means. Now, energy-wise, you can imagine this affects our contracts. It affects our work. It affects our aspirations. It affects our spending or money management. Scorpio, Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. And the true Lilith will, of course, have dips into Scorpio as well. The true Lilith is not fixed. It can be here and there. It doesn't have a very linear transit. So that's why the other Lilith is used more commonly. So what does it does mean that we need to look at very, very hard to look at things within ourselves, and don't understand this just in a negative way. because it can be extraordinarily positive and liberating. This is where, let me give you like a really silly example. Someone just wakes up that, oh my goodness, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. And their nightmare ends there and then. A nightmare where all their lives they couldn't take their clothes off, and you know these patterns. We saw them in society and it broke our hearts. Or maybe we are one. If this miraculously ends overnight, this really changes so much around. Of course, it creates massive chaos, but when that chaos settles down, truly something else is there, something that can be worked with, something that we can grow in a harmonious way. Just like, let's say, someone inherits a garden, it's full of everything, both beautiful flowers and plants, but a lot of weed or a lot of anything that. So one has to, you know, go and get the lawnmower, big time, or even a specialist. But once that work is done and over, whatever will grow, of course, it is gonna be harmonious because they plant it in such a way, they plan it in such a way. It will depict a visage, it will depict basically a soul offering to the Earth Mother, because isn't that what a garden is? Your own visage of a small ecosystem that you gift to the Earth Mother, so she doesn't have to take care of it. You take care of it for her and she loves it. She blesses it with fruits, with flowers, with bees, with everything you want. But of course, you know that rare case when I'm not exactly sure how that plant is called, but it's like a bindweed. And if you get it in your garden, especially in the United Kingdom, your house is zero value because it will eat your house up over time, and it is extraordinarily costly and difficult to kill it. It will keep coming back and keep coming back. For some people, imagine if that is a marriage that you invested a lot into. Imagine if that's a career. Imagine if that's anything. But that's also a moment of truth. And the only way to free yourself from the bindweed is to begin anew from zero. And Aries, eclipse in Aries, Saturn, Neptune upcoming in Aries is really, really ideal for that. Just that I have to repeat, it's not instant. Right now, it's still, as many astrologers say, false new beginnings, because we need to process a lot of things to make sure we don't carry the stems of bad things from the past into the future, even from the present into the future. Mars is still going direct, but still in its shadow path. It holds a trine with Saturn. That's really good because no matter what we see, no matter what decision we have to make, no matter what big moves we need to take, we know that it's for our best. And Mars in Cancer, family, community, ethnicity. Okay, that is the ethnic part, and my borders, your borders is really, how should I say? I shouldn't even speak about that. But fortunately, or hopefully, I'm praying for this, and I hope you are too. A trine can mean some kind of solution. But a trine, now the trine is that aspect in astrology, and maybe many astrologers will laugh at me now, which is discriminatory. And I lived this so very many times. I am a person who finds it very hard to feel joy. You can imagine that I'm canceling any trine in my life. Whenever there's like even a grand trine, maybe I have a smile that day. That's it. The very same grand trine takes other people to, I don't know, the highs of their life. So trine is where it will favor those who know how to embrace it, how to receive it, how to love it. So this is where trine doesn't necessarily have to mean peace in a classical sense. It can mean peace in the sense that one side is silenced and the other one is at peace. So peace. And I'm speaking about anything, not just one situation. In South America, there's so very many, how should I say, inner wars against criminals and citizens and etc., which is just as horrendous and big and a cry out like anything else. And Pisces is also that. Everyone with what they see, everyone with what they're immersed into. That's their drama, but everyone's in drama. And in a way, that's okay because everyone has to fight or heal or whatever their role is, well, their own universe, their own bubble, their own culture or place where either they chose or are connected to or are born to. However, I want to believe with every fiber of my being that this can at least promise a hope of peace. And that's why, even though the energies are, well, Pisces dual, both this and that, both doom and gloom, but it can be both a miracle and super optimistic. We need to work with them as best as we can and not lose into Mercury not being able to figure out, not lose ourselves into that. Because Mercury is not supposed to figure out yet in a classic sense. So we need to work. If it's a contract, maybe there's a second interview, second negotiation. It goes back and forth until it reaches a final stage. If you're negotiating your salary, if anything like this, because Mercury in Aries is really good for negotiating, as in dishing out your terms and conditions. But it goes back into Pisces. This means even you have to reconsider your terms and conditions. And then later on towards April, dish out something wiser and more aligned with your spirit, Pisces, than right now or in the early days of March. And another energy that I would like to speak about is that Jupiter is exactly in the middle of Gemini at that 15 degrees. Now, if Gemini usually is duality in its classical sense, now it's extreme. We're going to be feeling the Gemini expression. However, duality, every dual sign deals with duality in a different way. And Gemini, and maybe a lot of people are gonna not agree with me, is one of those signs who actually does justice with it, does something good with it. Okay, it's always condemned. You're a hypocrite, you're a two-face, but any ambassador is that, isn't it? Gemini simply chooses to be everyone's friend. And if you judge them for that, it is what it is. For example, Pisces is the dichotomous dual sign, where it's both black and white, and it's total contradiction and still okay. Aquarius is the same, where two things that shouldn't be good bedfellows are good bedfellows. And they're a total contradiction to each other. However, with Aquarius, even though they contradict each other, They're very mirror of one another, really. Libra, well, I don't even need to mention Libra because Libra is the justice system. Of course, we weigh things. Of course, there is such thing as appeal and I don't know, how you call that? International Court of Justice or Supreme Court. Libra has to juggle and be dual and Libra is an inanimate sign, so it's not insane. The Libra duality is not insane. Where the Pisces one, the Gemini one can seem a bit extreme at certain moments. But expect this. Expect the duality with Jupiter exactly in the middle of Gemini, where the twins are separate. The twins are separated for a little bit. But this is also a good thing. This is a very good thing because sometimes Gemini is the natural expression of the third house. We can think differently. We can think outside the box. The eureka moment. How should I say? And Jupiter is going through its shadow path. So whatever we tried to strongly figure out with belief in the past, do believe 2-3 months, something like that. Now we're getting answers. We're getting somewhere. We are at least stepping into our belief, real belief. So this week is gonna be heavy. This week is gonna be a bit crazy. This week can be a bit scary as well. However, as I said, the duality of all this, it can be the biggest miracle that we ever experienced. What does this depend upon? Well, not just the present, because this is a very, very heavily karmic energy. It also depends on our past actions, but especially in regards to morality, empathy, understanding, and choosing or not choosing victimhood, and what we've done with this. So it's a bit tricky. And this week, it may seem due to this that free will doesn't even exist. Everything is karma. We might seem that the universe is almost like blind and deaf and just going its own way like a ram. So, but it needs to because Saturn is aiming to that 0 degree of Aries. Okay, it will retrograde out of there, but after it goes back, so somewhere at the end, next year, I do believe in 2026, at the very beginning of it will mean business. Even though Saturn, as I said, is not very comfortable and is not able to bring out its higher qualities in the sign of Aries, which means, well, self-discipline, you need to invest a lot of effort into self-discipline. It doesn't work easily. It's not you snap your fingers and your being will react to what you want. But on the other hand, how should I say this in a rather not scary way? Who will enforce the rules? When Saturn is not so very himself and okay, sometimes he doesn't care. I don't care. So where are the rules? Where are the laws? Where is the limit, the limitation? Where is the guarantee of the law? And when I say the law, Saturn is law enforcement, not court of justice. Saturn is the executioner. So there's this part where who is gonna stop the angry warrior? Who is gonna stop the fiery, passionate adventurer? No one. Who is gonna stop extreme sovereignty and self-righteousness? No one. When I say no one, well, actually there is someone. Well, Neptune. Because as they enter Aries, they're gonna conjunct, and the stronger planet here is, without a shadow of a doubt, Neptune. So, and Neptune is gonna be in its infant stage, reborn, purified, freed from certain toxicity. So this can mean that the divine spirit is here within our actually heads, because Aries is the head, pineal gland, and the crown chakra. That can activate big time, and that can be the law. That can be the law enforcement. It can represent a tide, a flood of morality, the highest expression. And I, again, so very much hope that this is it. That we're just flooded by the Christ consciousness, which is Pisces. But not to offend anyone, Kuan Yin, or however you call mercy and compassion, and its divine source, of course. So that energy, the energy of compassion and the Christ consciousness, is gonna be as equally as present and as all the disruption and all of that. So it's here within us directly. So I hope this helps everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye for now.